On today's Michigan Football Report, we are going to recap my final thoughts on the 2025 recruiting class. Last Wednesday was National Signing Day. Got producer Sam with me, Jackson on another show today. Also got newish hire Brett Alper. 2.5 months already, Alper. Can you believe it? Sam and I were amongst a crew of 8 in New Orleans last week. I did a little impromptu Ryan Day video, but couldn't really do our normal signing day coverage as we were covering the Super Bowl for the overall company. Speaking of New Orleans in the state of Louisiana, going to tie that in with Bryce Underwood. I got some things to say. So if you're from Louisiana, been there, if you just want to laugh a little, we're going to talk the state of Louisiana. And then Sherrone more. Huge decisions lately, bringing in some familiar faces that I think could pay off big time with this Michigan football program. Going forward, those are our 3 topics on today's show, but I will start off with this that came earlier this afternoon. Pete Thamilton, one of the biggest douchebags in all of media, was too afraid to come out to the game day set in the 2023 Michigan-Ohio State game. Really has just a bone to pick. I think he's like Ryan Day's college roommate's brother. Put out the news, so I want to make sure we qualify him, his credentials, that Matt Patricia, former Lions head coach Matt Patricia, is the new defensive coordinator with the Ohio State Buckeyes. What a downgrade for them. They had Jim Knowles, who led them to a national title game, obviously 0-3 versus Michigan, so he's a schmuck regardless, goes to Penn State, and now they get Matt Patricia, who, until we started filming, we began to film the show, I was like, oh, I saw he was with the Eagles. Was he must have just won a Super Bowl. That's a nice hire for him. No, he was actually Bill Belichick's butler for the last year. He's Bill Belichick's butler. That was his job leading into getting the Ohio State defensive coordinator job. We all remember him, right? As the failing coach of the Detroit Lions from the 2018 through the COVID season of 2020 when he's unceremoniously fired with a 13-29-1 record. And if you go back, Sam, people might be forgetting about this, right? He was with the Patriots for a decade or so in various roles, won a Super Bowl, maybe 2 as their defensive coordinator. All right, Tom Brady made a lot of people rich doing that, Michigan's own Tom Brady. Then goes to the Lions, complete disaster, complete schmuck. He leaves, they go straight to, playoffs, winning championships, etc. And we all forget about this. He goes back to the Patriots. What was it, their defensive coordinator? No, he was their offensive coordinator for like half a season, and he got pulled, right? He was their offensive, maybe the entire season, right? He was, offensive play caller to start the 2022 season, right? Entire career in defense. Belichick's going to change the game, make him offensive coordinator, was relieved of his duties after the season, after they averaged 18.1 points per game. Goes to the Eagles, right? Goes to the Eagles as he would replace their defensive coordinator, during the season or something like that. And so towards the end of the year, they fired the defensive coordinator, and he got 4 games, and they took the title away from him of interim DC with the Eagles because the team showed little or no improvement and lost 3 of the 4 games when he was the defensive play caller. So he's had quite a run over the last 8 years, had nothing but failure since leaving the Patriots with his after his first time. So that is who Ohio State is getting. They're getting the guy they already demoted, right? Brian Hartline was made co-OC in 2023. Couldn't get the job done in spring of 2023. They pulled the play call duties from him, then demoted him back to wide receiver coach, bring in Chip Kelly. Now they're putting him back up there, so we'll see what happens. And then they bring in a failed defensive head coach, offensive coordinator, Butler, a guy who's actually a Butler, to be their new DC. It's not just me saying this, right? I would say half of the Ohio State fan base on Twitter is saying this is a terrible hire. The other half is saying, Ryan Day won the national title. He can do no wrong, and that is what it is. We just had a staff meeting on Monday coming back from the Super Bowl, kind of postseason, after the NFL season, talking some talk, and they said, Yoder, you've been sitting a little shy of 34,000 subscribers, and as we're under renovation, we got about 6 weeks left of the office renovation. You guys have heard me talk about tight for studio time, right, Sam? Tight for studio time. So they said, Sam's signing the studio. He said, if you don't get to 34,000 subscribers by March 1st, we got, 16 days, or else. Might take some studio time away from me. Might even rename this the Maryland Football Report. So if you've yet to do so, the number one show for Michigan football fans in 2022, 2023, not as much in 2024, but the highest viewed show in those years, Michigan Football Report. Subscribe today. Let's not find out what the or else is. The end of today's show, I'm going to talk about Sherrone Moore's huge decision and why I think it might be the missing ingredients for what this football program has been missing really in almost 20 years. And I will just talk about that and the return of Biff Poggi. Let's talk about the final 2025 recruiting rankings. Michigan, after getting a big signing from Ty Haywood, Former 5-star, a couple services still 5-star, but overall it was ranked a high 4-star, number 42 overall, 39 overall in the composite. Michigan finishes with the number 6 class with 24 commits. Babalola and Underwood as your 2 5-stars. They edge out Auburn, Florida, Texas A&M. And this is really kind of a microcosm, these top 6 teams of who's dominated college football, who's made the playoffs over the past 3 and 4 seasons. I think it's a really good class for Sherrone Moore. You kind of had some hiccups. You had some good momentum throughout the summer, spring, like that new coach vibe. Then the offense started looking like crap, right? Then, people were decommitting, quite a few decommits, right? One of them came back, Nate Marshall. But you get Bryce Underwood commit. Then prior to that, you get Andrew Babalola, and you get Nate Marshall to flip. You add Ty Haywood, Shamari Earls flips from Georgia. And right here with these top 10 guys, you've got 10 of the top 144 players. So 10 players in the top 150 for this class, which is absolutely huge, right? Michigan went a good stretch over the last 3 or 4 years where they didn't gain on that recruiting momentum, found some diamonds in the rough, right? Some hidden gems that turned out to be great players. But if you even go back 1 year, let's take it back last year's class, top-rated guy, Andrew Sprague, 96 player overall. 68 player overall. And then you've got 2 more guys in the top 150, right? So 3 players, Jaden Davis being at 115, being the third of that. 2 years ago, that's coming off a national title game, right? Title season. 2 seasons ago, you've got no players, right? 0 players in 2023 recruiting class coming off 2 straight wins over Ohio State, 2 straight Big Ten titles in 21 and 22. You gave Eno Etta at number 107 as the top-rated recruit, and you only get 2 players inside the top 220, Etta, and then Brandon Hillman. Jair Hill, one of the stars of that class, was the 221st ranked player in that class. Nobody else inside the top 300. So 3 guys inside the top, 3 guys inside the top 300 in that 2020 recruiting class. So that's how impactful that these players are. So I'm big on this recruiting class. I think there's going to be quite a few players, maybe even 3 or 4 that start the opening game of the year this season. I will ask you guys, though, grade Sherrone Moore's first full recruiting class as the Michigan football head coach. Bryce Underwood, the number 1 player overall. Andrew Babalola, Ty Haywood, Nate Marshall, flip from Michigan to Auburn. Auburn back to Michigan. NIL dollars are paying off. I'm giving it an A++. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Bryce Underwood was on Big Ten Network on Sign Day a week ago, and overall said a lot of, fluff, etc. But the haters and the losers, of which there are many, will say, oh, you paid him. He didn't want to go to Michigan. He didn't want to do this, want to do that, etc. But he's commented why he flipped from LSU, basically saying, honestly, the legacy that comes with it, the resources, the great education, that's one of the factors that came with this decision that I made. I mean, look, I don't think there was any surprise that his commitment to LSU was surrounded by Jim Harbaugh, maybe not airing it out with the 2023 team that had J.J. McCarthy, top 10 pick in the NFL draft. All the while, Jaden Davis went there, transferred from Arizona State, light the world on fire, winning the Heisman, of course, going in the NFL and having the same success. So there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, well, Michigan just got him because of the money, People are very influenced by things they see in the media, see things on TV. They're calling J.J. a handoff artist. They're calling Jaden Davis the next Joe Burrow, et cetera, winning the Heisman Trophy. And finally, he came to his senses. And I don't just think it was the NIL factor. I certainly don't think that LSU had this great pitch to him, because I'm going to talk about Louisiana and the time we spent there. I flew there, Sam, and then I drove back with you and some of the other crew were there. And I've got some things to say about the state of Louisiana and why I think, frankly, is maybe why they lost Bryce Underwood. But I didn't want to tell you about the Michigan Football Report's sponsor that is back, and that is Factor Meals. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. It arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor's keto meals. I'll say this, Sam. I had my Factor meal delivered. I ate a couple on last Tuesday. I went to New Orleans and flew to meet you guys on Wednesday. And then I come back. I still have a few more because they last a week. I told my wife, if I was single, There's no way in hell I would not do anything other than factor, right? You get these great meals. It feels like a chef is eating from you. And yeah, heat them up. They come in dry ice, so they're perfectly fresh and awesome. If you're a single guy out there, like Sam, are you single guy, Sam? You single? You got a lady?
No comment. Next question.
No comment, Sam. I would be all over Factor because it's like great home cooked meals, but it comes delivered, and it is awesome. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/MichiganChat50off. It's a big one. I get it. But we put it down there in the comments and description of today's video. Second paragraph, you're going to find the link and the promo code to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code MichiganChat50off at factormeals.com/MichiganChat50off. Link is down in the comments and the description of today's Michigan Football Report. Get 50% plus free shipping on your first box. It really is awesome. I'm not going to lie. I would promote them even if they weren't part of our sponsor, Sam. I love Factor
I
Meals.
concur. As a single man.
Single man, he's there. And you know what? If your wife's just not cutting it, Factor Meals. So here's my take on the state of Louisiana. As I'm switching gears here, going back after talking about Factor. Number one thing about the state of Louisiana that I noticed from spending a week there. I've been in New Orleans plenty of times, but it's usually a hotel right off Bourbon Street. You walk up and down, you get beers, you get crazy. All of a sudden it's 3 a.m. and you don't know where you're going. The state of Louisiana, Sam, has no businesses. There are no businesses there. Where do people have jobs? If you're not a bartender, if you're not a waiter, if you're not an Uber driver, if you're not a casino host or car dealer, what jobs do you have that aren't hospitality? So I'm like, they've got no businesses, so where does the money come for all these NIL cash? I think it's fake. I think it's the mafia. I think it might be the mafia. Number one is, all people told us all week, be careful, New Orleans, be careful. And it wasn't just the things that happened on Bourbon Street recently. People were like, don't have money in your pockets. There's pickpockets here. Don't get an Uber. People walk around looking for people. They we have the door. You're here for an Uber? If you get in their car, they take you somewhere to rob you. So it's a dangerous city. There's no businesses. And then we drove, right? We drove back to Dallas with all the equipment, right? It's not just New Orleans. The entire state's kind of dirty. We stopped at a couple towns, right? You go in to take a leak at a gas station, you think it's nice. It's covered with piss. Somebody puked all over the place. They take no pride in their state. All the houses kind of look run down, right? And then we went to Baton Rouge. We stopped there and got what? Subway, right?
Eat fresh.
Eat Fresh, no, not a sponsor. They should be maybe. The Subway was fine. It actually tasted pretty well. I enjoyed the sandwich. But I'm like, this is Baton Rouge? This is Baton Rouge? This looks like Allen Park, Michigan. It's just an average town. There was nothing quaint. There was nothing cool. It's not Ann Arbor or Madison, Wisconsin or anything like that. The Star State of Louisiana, nice people, I'm sure. Fun place to drink and just yell things like people do in the Super Bowl. But why the hell would you go to college there if you're not from there? It is brutal to get to from Michigan down to Baton Rouge. Either you're going to fly to New Orleans and drive in 90 minutes, or you're taking a little prop plane into there. I don't know how LSU has been getting kids from the north or outside the state of Louisiana for years. I think Bryce Underwood might take one of those two of those visits towards the end of the thing, looking around, and it's like, Joe Pesci meme where it's like, what the hell is this shithole? Whatever that meme is. You guys know what I'm talking about, Alper, kind of thing. The whole state's kind of a shithole, right? And I am willing to take the vibes. Come at me, LSU fans. You've done it before. Come at me. We're clipping this one out, that's for sure. Come at me, because your whole state outside of Bourbon Street is kind of dirty, kind of dangerous. There's no businesses. The city of Baton Rouge seemed like some highway exit kind of, rinky-dink town. It did not look like the great college towns of the Midwest and elsewhere. Baton Rouge stunk. The entire state of Louisiana outside Bourbon Street kind of stinks too. Let's talk about Bryce Underwood a little more, the number one player in this class, number one player in Michigan, number one player at the quarterback position. I think one ranking ended up putting him number 2, like Rivals.com. Somehow they still exist. But all eyes are going to be on Bryce Underwood soon, right? Michigan starting spring practice in March. As far as today, dates are still to be determined, but they will start spring practice in the month of March. And so we're going to see a ton of Bryce Underwood clips. We're going to hear, is he the real deal? Is he struggling? Is he in line to be Michigan's starting quarterback come August, 30th, I believe it is, and before going to Sam's alma mater, Oklahoma. Mikey Keene's going to make his voice known. He, multiple year starter, started at UCF, started at Fresno State, and if you remember, was a starting quarterback in Michigan's season opener last year, playing for Fresno State. Looking back, I didn't think he played like that great, but 22 of 36, 235, 1 touchdown, but also 2 interceptions, which Fresno made it a game, right? It was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. One of those 2 interceptions, the second one, I believe, went 90-plus yards back. Will Johnson. I think it was a 10-point game there. It was. And then Michigan was up by 17, and that was all she wrote. So Mikey Keene, if he'd been on Michigan's quarterback this year, I think you're looking at a 10-win team. So he can definitely do it. But I think everyone's riding on, hoping that Bryce Underwood gets the job, is all he's hyped up to be, and can be like J.J. McCarthy with maybe one extra year as the starting quarterback at Michigan. I will ask you guys this question. You got a big game, game 2. You're heading on the road to Oklahoma. And then I think week 4, maybe 5, you are heading on the road to Nebraska as well. So does Bryce Underwood start the 2025 season opener in Ann Arbor? Let me know what you guys are thinking. We're putting out the Bryce Underwood vibes. Y for yes, N for no. Michigan adds a couple familiar names. One was towards last week, which I tweeted about. Biff, Poggi, love myself some Biff. He is Jim Harbaugh's right-hand man coming back now to work for Sherrone after giving a shot at his college football head coaching at Charlotte. But a name that I love. When I was younger, I loved this guy in Michigan staff. He's one of these coaches that just never left. You never had to worry about him going looking for an OC job elsewhere. You never had to worry about somebody swooping in and stealing him. Erik Soup Campbell. They call him Soup. If you're over 30 years old, you would know who Soup Campbell is. And I think a lot of Michigan coaches missed the bag on him. But let's kind of recap. Who are we talking about here? If you're younger, if you're one of those 15-year-olds watching this show, have no idea who this guy is. Played with Jim Harbaugh, right? They overlapped for 3 years, 84, 85, 86. And then he was a senior in 87. At Michigan, then was a graduate assistant, worked as a running back coach at Navy, Ball State, and Syracuse, and then returned home when Lloyd Carr became Michigan's head coach in 1995 and was there through Carr's entire tenure. After Michigan, Rich Rodriguez in 2008 did not keep him on board, went over to Iowa to become their wide receiver coach. Didn't really work out as well as it probably could have there. There was seemingly out of football for 2 seasons in 13 and 14. Jim Harbaugh brought him on as an analyst in 2015. Just for 1 year, so not sure what happened there. Wide receiver coach at UConn, Delaware State's wide receiver passing coordinator, and then Bowling Green with Scott Loeffler, former Michigan quarterback, the last 5 or 6 seasons, and now is your assistant wide receiver coach. About time. I mean, the production at Michigan at the wide receiver position was not great before him, right? You had Anthony Carter, you had Desmond Howard win the Heisman Trophy. Carter being a 3-time All-American, and then Campbell's career at Michigan overlaps with the best wide receiver production in the history of the school. And after that, you've only had a handful of guys hit 1,000 yards. So let's look back. With multiple quarterbacks in 1995, you had Mercury Hayes hit 923 yards. 96, again, they started 2 or 3 different guys. Scott Dreisbach, Brian Greasy, etc. 96, Ty Street, 728 yards. Running team in 1997, won the national title. You take a dip. After those first 3 years, 9 of the next 10 years, Soup Campbell's wide receivers had 1,000 yards, which I think, as a school that's never been known for throwing the ball, it's something that I was perplexed when Rich Rod didn't bring him on. Like, why would I keep this guy? He's the best wide receiver coach, I think, at that time in all of college football. After 98, you go, 1,000-yard wide receiver, boom, David Terrell, again, 1,100 yards. Marquise Walker the next year, 1,100 yards. Brandon Edwards, boom, 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 1,000, 1,100. 1,380 yards at the time. The school, when I believe the Big Ten record for yards in a season. Jason Avant, Mario Manningham. So you take a dip in 2006. Remember, that's a team that started 10-0, played in the famed 1-2 team game, Michigan and Ohio State. They spread the ball around, ran the ball a lot with Mike Carr. Next year, Manningham goes off for 1,100 yards. And then Rich Rod gets the head coaching job, doesn't keep him on. I think Campbell's career kind of went sideways there. So I'm not sure if it was something to do with him, his relationship with Lloyd Carr. But I was surprised when Michigan didn't bring him on with Rich Rod. I thought maybe Brady Hoke could bring him back because they coached together in 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, last time frame, 5 years. But he didn't. And I think this is going to pay off big time. Ron Bellamy, Michigan's wide receiver coach, was one of his players, right? They've got clearly a great relationship. Obviously, Campbell's pushing it. He's probably in his early 70s now. Having that level of oversight and guidance on Bellamy, a first-time college position coach for the last 3 seasons, I think it's going to be great. And if Michigan can start developing wide receivers under Sherrone more with Bryce Underwood and a more aggressive offense that we saw on Jim Harbaugh passing the ball, I think you can get back to where Michigan is putting guys in the NFL draft at the wide receiver position in the first round, like David Terrell and Braylon Edwards and others. Mario Manningham, I think, was second round, and not third round and sixth round like Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson. So this decision to bring back Soup Campbell, I think, is the biggest decision this offseason since Michigan beat Ohio State. Not obviously counting Bryce Underwood actually signing on the line that was dotted for his signing day with Michigan back in December. Outside of Soup back to Michigan, Biff Poggi back as Michigan's associate head head coach, basically be the right-hand man to Sherrone like he was for Jim Harbaugh as Michigan revitalized the program coming out of COVID in 2020. Let me know what you guys think. Erik, Soup Campbell, Biff, Poggi, rate the hiring scales of 1 to 100. I'm giving them a 1,000 is my grade on that. So let me know what you guys think. The scale 1 to 100. I'm just maximizing. I'm leveling up there. Add a 0, 1 to 1,000. Just one more thing before we go here on the Michigan Football Report. Sam, do we get your thoughts? Give me your thoughts really quick. I don't want the people to think I'm the hater. So, Sam, give me your thoughts on Louisiana.
No, I'm kind of 100% there with you. Good place to visit. I will never, ever, ever, ever live there as long as I'm breathing on this earth. It was dirty. Everything was run down. The roads sucked. Half the roads, by the way, half the highways are over the swamp. So you get a little bit of that too, just in the background. Good people. Had a good time on Bourbon Street. I think you and I can both agree on that one. You will never see me in New Orleans, maybe not even the state of Louisiana longer than 5 days.
Oh, yeah, 3 I think is the max me going forward. Unless it's a Super Bowl or something like that.
I said I had to be there 5 days for work. Otherwise, you don't know. I might have just cut that back, take a quick flight, see if you would have caught me. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think this entire Louisiana, them having a winning football team, getting top 5 classes, which I don't think they have this year, right? I think it's been a scam. It's a sham. It's a travesty. I think it's mafia-driven, and they're funneling mafia to paying off players, and that's how I've had a winning football team for the past 20-plus years. Guys, we beat ourselves from the beginning of the show. Got to hit 34,000 subscribers, so need, quick math, 292 in the next 16 days, only 28 days in February. I'll do another video on Thursday, actually. We're gonna stack some videos this week because we are feeling energized and excited for spring ball, so we'll be back on Thursday. Till then, go Blue.